everyone, and welcome your faces back to another Little Nightmares video. Today we're breaking down the trailer of Little Nightmares 3, and if that takes your fancy, make sure you hit subscribe because we are going to be covering Little Nightmares like mad up until the release of Little Nightmares 3. So if you like that, make sure you hit subscribing and notified when I post a new video talking about it. But of course, let's talk today about the trailer, and we're going to break down everything that we see. We're going to go through it, we're going to scrub frame by frame, talk about what we see, and see if we can possibly theorize about where it's going further. But of course, as I said before, if you like that idea and that sounds like gravy to you, make sure you hit like and subscribe, do all the usual. So, let's get into the video. So, of course, the first shot we see in the trailer is that of a wall, and of course, one of the child characters climbing up a makeshift ladder, which seems to be made from wooden broken pieces or whatnot. And obviously, in the area, we can see what appears to be a sort of net. Now, I wonder if that's for either detecting wind or trying to catch the ravens, as I think we can see in the actual net itself, there are a few ravens there caught in it, and of course we can see a raven just chilling out on the beam too. Other than that, there's not really a lot going on in this frame apart from the fact that it looks like a very sandy environment, very yellow, so I'm wondering where we're being placed, but who knows, we'll probably learn about that more as we go on. And of course, the trusty old Bandai Namco logo, which we all know and love at this point. And here is where we come to one of the best things about Little Nightmares, just the one of those shots that are so in depth that there's just so much going on in one scene. Obviously, we can see our character walking along a beam, which looks to be like a puzzle from, of course, within game. As we can see, there's a little bit of a crate on the right. We've got another raven or crow flying around again, and that's flying over our main character. But of course, it's just showing us how deep this world is going, and of course, what's going on in the background. Then we get another shot of our main character walking through what appears to be a desert, I'm going to assume. And of course, there's another crow watching him take his journey. Now, one thing I want to point out instantly, I think the dark part of this is the crow is possibly waiting for its next meal, that being the child that we can see here. And again, it's a story without words. It's a daunting visual. But with that, there's also, of course, briefcases. Now, we are no strangers to briefcases, as we've seen in Little Nightmares 2, and won quite a lot. So I wonder if there is some type of connection here, but of course, we'll have to get more and more into that as we get on. And of course, the Supermassive Games logo. I am absolutely so pumped that they are involved and making Little Nightmares 3. I am so glad because, one, that's the one I guessed nearly a year and a half ago now, and I just put two and two together and assumed it was them, and I'm just so glad that's actually paid off now, to die on that hill. And then in this shot, we get to see our character meet another character. I'm assuming we're seeing another AI companion. Perhaps there is a connection between these two characters. Maybe this will be revealed more as time goes on, that there might have a connection. But for now, I'm going to stay on the fence, just because, as we see in Little Nightmares 2, Mono and Six was paired up, but there was no connection there. So we have to be a bit careful here. I love this frame here because, again, like Little Nightmares 2, they're helping each other progress through the game, what I could assume. And also, there seems to be an item on the back of the other character. And again, really love that. I'm hoping they build on what we had in Little Nightmares 2 with some of the objects and weapons, for instance. Also, I just want to take a moment to appreciate these character designs. They are so unique. I actually wonder if on the feedback form at the end of Little Nightmares 2, they took in a lot of people's answer about the whole customization thing. I wonder if we're able to customize these characters, like just outright, like maybe a full outfit for weapons or something like that. But I do think we are going to get maybe more hats. Now, something really cool is, of course, this mirror shot. We learn it's a mirror later on in the video. But there is one real crucial information piece to know right now, and it's the fact that the comics from 2017 were voided. They are not canon anymore. Again, I will be doing a video coming very soon explaining this whole issue between removing them from the comics and now bringing them back out. I am very intrigued to see, of course, as we learn later, how they're used, and it does explain why in Little Nightmares 1, 2 that the mirrors are cracked. But again, I think I'll leave that for a different video, because that is a whole can of worms that you can unravel, and believe me, there is a lot in there. And then, of course, we get a lovely little shot of them in front of what appears to be a furnace. And, of course, for the keen-eyed people, we can see on the left there is a gnome. So, gnomes are coming back for Little Nightmares 3. That is exciting because, one, that means, you know, more adorbs. But two, they are everywhere in the Little Nightmares world. So that's an interesting detail to note. Also, it's intriguing that the character actually pulls out a map. Now, I don't know about you, but what is that, like an emote? I don't know. But it's really intriguing to see these little characteristics come out. There's also something quite interesting here as well, and that's the extra pillows around the area. And I do wonder who they are for, because, of course, the gnome isn't using one. So are they perhaps for more characters? I don't know. Theory. But I don't know about you, but from the furnace to the gnome, I get massive The Hideaway vibes. And then also, another like absolutely mind-boggling mechanic they've added is the use of umbrellas. Now, I don't know if this is going to be a recurring item, but it looks like it's going to be very essential to part of the chapter or game completely. I don't know if this is going to be like the same case with the keys, like we can carry these on our person throughout the game, or if it's just like a specific interactable piece of equipment for that duration of the chapter. But the fact they're using physics and wind physics is really interesting. That is a very unique mechanic to sort of take, and I am looking hella forward to it, because one, I want to see if I can glitch it out, and I want to see how far I can really fly. And then, of course, we come to this little piano symbol type puzzle. Some familiar faces here, and I mean that with the teddy bear and axe in the eye above, which is quite a bit of symbolism. And, of course, the toy cube with an eye logo on it. Now, for those keen-eyed viewers, you can actually see, just before we get to the big shot of the children doing the puzzle together, the main, I think, character that we see throughout has a sort of bracelet along their ankle. Now, I don't know what this means, but I feel like this is just a very nice cosmetic to point out. Whether it means something to them or it's just a part of their design, I don't know. But I do think it looks really interesting. And then, of course, we get to the next frame, or the next segment of the frame, which looks to be a very similar take on the guests that we see from the mall. And of course, they have the same sort of structure. Now, I don't know specifically what they actually look like. We're only getting a bird's eye view, and it looks like they have quite warped faces similar to that of Little Nightmares 2, but they also have quite the chonky hands and fingers like Little Nightmares 1. So I believe it might be just a mixture of both of them. Again, I don't know if that's going to leave any connections, but it is a very interesting design to take. And I don't know about you, but I'm all for it. And then we come to the shot where the two characters are in a position, one sat and one stood. Actually, it's funny because you can actually sort of make out the face of one of the characters. And of course, I don't think I recognize the face at all. But it's a very interesting detail to include. But one of the things that's probably darkest about this is whatever is crawling through that pipe. But now, I kind of want to know, but two, definitely don't want to know. It looks very creepy, and the hand design looks dark. It looks like it's a very slender creature with long fingernails and very sharp nails. But I'm very intrigued to see what comes of this. And then, of course, we see the fuse make a return as our characters are carrying it through the level, and I think it's to fight off something like leeches or beetles or something similar, maybe ticks. But yeah, whatever it is, it's not good news. And then, of course, we have a few shots of them traversing the area and the map. And then we come to another shot where they're both sort of tiptoeing along. I don't know if that's like a panel or something. But of course, one of the characters is carrying an empty jar. And the other is carrying what I mentioned earlier, the little wrench that they had on their back earlier in the trailer. So I do wonder if we're going to be, again, using them as weapons just on demand, which is a really interesting take. And I'm very glad they did that, because I hated the idea that I couldn't pick up the pipe from Little Nightmares 2. So I really do like that addition. And then, of course, we see them jumping cinematically off a sort of wagon. Can't really make out the area with this one, but it does look very tinny. But, of course, the wooden carriage sort of puts me off on that regard as well. So I don't fully know, but it does look to be a very interesting area. And then, of course, we come to the really cool shot where one of the characters is holding out the hand for the other character to join him in pressing on the mirror, which we later come to learn that that's how they transverse through the level, which is super interesting. Again, it kind of explains what's going on with Little Nightmares 1 and 2, but again, I will explain that in a different video because there's a lot to talk about there in itself. And then, of course, we get a bigger, more defined shot of the mirror that seems to be cracked and broken. And, of course, with just a dark mist around it, just encapsulating the frame and, you know, bringing you that sort of dread and fear. And then, of course, we get the daunting reveal of the massive big baby. Now, I wonder if this is a baby based off, or at least sort of worked from, the Little Nightmares 2 concept art, where we saw that sort of big baby in a pile of, I believe it was TVs. I might be wrong. But something really interesting to point out is that the light source that we see in the next frame is actually coming from the baby's eye, the only eye on the baby that is open at that point. And then on the next frame, we get something quite interesting. Now, of course, the baby's hand comes through the wall and absolutely shatters it, making a really intense moment. But what I want to point out is actually around what's going on, around the action, we can actually see people or citizens of whatever this place is, because we can see they've been turned to stone, similar to how the children were changed in the Moor. Now, what intrigues me is, are we looking at full adults? Is this the first time we're going to see sort of normalized people within the Little Nightmares world? Again, not got concrete evidence, but it absolutely is possible. And then we get the confirmed shot that they use the mirrors as portals to transfer. I don't know if it's between mirrors or just transfer around the level. We'll have to wait and see if they reveal any more about that. And then another shot of the broken mirror. It's really interesting because actually the mirror has got such a unique design to it. There's importance in that mirror, and we don't know what it is, but of course it's different, it's unique, and it's cracked. And then we come, of course, to the next frame, which is our two characters stood on a table, and it looks like they're in like some sort of junkyard or wreckage. There's just piles and piles of what I could only assume is like scrap or something similar, and just tables upon tables of the stuff. Now, I don't know what this particular means. I just think it might be an area within the location itself or something along that lines, but basically it's bad news. And then, of course, we get the title screen, and we get the date 2024, Little Nightmares 3. Now, I'm hoping they follow suit like they did with Little Nightmares 2, and it's a very early 2024. So we could be seeing it in the first or second quarter, which I'm really hoping for. But interestingly, in this shot, the mirror isn't actually damaged, which is, I don't know, I find that a very interesting bit of information to include in the end card. So we'll have to build on top of that. But I thought it was an interesting thing to point out. But of course, with that being said, let me know what you think in the comments below about this trailer. Let me know what you think. Let me know your theories. Let me know what you're thinking, or if anything I've missed. I'd love to hear it. Again, we're back on the Little Nightmares theorizing. I am super excited. We've got more content to actually talk about now. But with that being said, make sure you hit like, comment, and subscribe to all the usual stuff. Thank you for watching this video. Have a lovely morning, day, or night, wherever you are in the world. Stay safe, and I'll see you all in the next Little Nightmares theory video.